Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. I am so excited to bring you guys today's video. We are going to be breaking down over 10 different charts, analyzing many different altcoins that are in their first cycles, second cycles, and some even in their third cycles. We're going to break down what the market structure looks like, explain why I believe the next bull run that's coming is going to be so much bigger than the last one we just went through, and how everybody that's positioning themselves now is going to make a ton of money in the process. If you're new and just find this channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos like the one provided for you here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into it today. Alrighty guys, so here we are to start off today's video, and the most important way to start off today's video is analyzing why there's going to be such a big crypto bull run. You know, everybody's been talking about this idea that Bitcoin's going to lose all volatility, that because of the last cycle, because we didn't go nearly as high as prior cycles, that this is going to be a new rule. Bitcoin's never going to have the same upside appreciation, and while that's definitely a possibility that we can consider, I don't think that that's necessarily the most accurate assumption. And I'm going to break down why I believe that is so. Now, first things first, guys, this is what it looks to me when I look at the chart of the DXY. This is what I see. I see the potential that we could be in a big picture distribution of a Wyckoff, right? And so kind of the way this works, if we come down here and look at a true Wyckoff, we go through this kind of consolidation period, right? Where we make this range, we have sweeps below the range support as well as sweeps above the range high resistance. Ultimately, we get a false attempt of a breakout of this resistance, and then ultimately that leads us into kind of a bear trap and falling to new lows. I've seen this pattern play out generally more on the bullish sense. I've seen a lot of these bottom formations kind of play out in this way, but what I find is so interesting is the fact that the DXY itself is actually creating another one of these patterns. Now, there's actually another time in which the dollar did this. If we look back at 2015 through 2018, this was the very top of Bitcoin cycle right here, in the 2018 cycle top at 20K. If we look and analyze this, this is a better example of a much more consistent distribution of a Wyckoff than the most recent one that we're seeing, because keep in mind that this one actually played out. And so this is to give you guys an idea of how a Wyckoff has actually played out in years past and how it actually created our 2017 bull run. When we topped here, the dollar topped here at the very end and beginning of 2016 and 2017, we saw this massive decline in the dollar, and this is what created that massive 2017 alt run, right? And so this was the exact same schematic that played out. Once again, just a distribution schematic based off of Wyckoff. And what I find super interesting is the fact that if we're looking at the last, basically since 2014 all the way to now, almost 10 years worth of price action, it looks like we're actually creating literally the exact same pattern once again. It's not quite as symmetrical as the one that we were looking at right here, but I think that you guys get the point here. What we could easily be looking at is another one of these Wyckoffs, and we could easily see another one of these big distribution events. I don't find it coincidental that after the very top of this Wyckoff, the last one that we saw, this is what created our biggest bull run that we've ever seen in crypto. 2017 was so much bigger than anything we'd ever seen. And if you weren't there to experience it from the very beginning of 2016, all the way through 2016, all the way through 2017, chances are you just simply don't have a full around picture of what that cycle looked like. And it's no disrespect, it's just that a lot of people haven't been around that long. Most people got into crypto either at the top of 2017, sometime in 2018, or most recently at the top of our last cycle. There hasn't been that many people around throughout the last 5-6 plus years of crypto. So it's hard for these people to have a full picture of what is actually taking place. Now, when I see this, I was there for 2016. Of course, I didn't know what any of this was, but now that I've been through 6 years worth of crypto, I've been learning, I've been studying, reading books, watching other people that are significantly more smarter than me. I honestly believe that we could be getting ready for the exact same thing. And if this is a true Wyckoff top, and we're about to see a big decline all the way back down, this is going to be a really big move to the downside. And I don't know exactly how big it would be, but if we remove all of our drawing tools and we look at the DXY on the big picture, This is where I think things get very interesting, because what we've already put in, I mean, we've known that we've been in this big downtrend, right? We're in a big downtrend. We have lower lows and lower highs since the very beginning of time. And even most recently with this big move up, we didn't quite go all the way up to the top of the resistance. This is still a lower high. On top of that, if we look at the DXY, we've already perfectly stitched in a 5-wave sequence up. So we've already stitched in a perfect Elliott wave sequence on the way back up. What we see in the economy is record inflation. We see housing prices, specifically traffic for new buyers, at the lowest level since the 2008 financial crisis. You know, there's talks of recession. I'm not going to sit here and say that we're headed for one right off the bat next year, but what we're looking at is a lot of weakness inside of the DXY and specifically the dollar. These are more reasons why I don't expect that this is just going to keep breaking out. We've already put in 5 waves up, and this 5-wave up is coming, and we're literally creating another one of these Wyckoff events. So if our last Wyckoff that we created the 2017 bull run, and we're looking at a big picture 5 waves up, literally since the 2008 financial crisis, this is a huge move up. This is a 12-year trend. This is a 12-year bull trend that the dollar's been in. When this ends, we know how counter-correlated Bitcoin and the crypto markets are to the dollar. So if this stitches in another 5 waves up and we start another one of these massive declines over the next 10 years or whatever it is, we are going to see crypto go mainstream. We're going to see crypto go absolutely bonkers. And everybody that's positioned right now is ultimately going to be able to capitalize on that transformation. So guys, now that we've covered why I believe that we could be setting ourselves up for the biggest crypto bull run ever, let's talk about some of the cryptos that we see today, some of them that have been through 1, 2, and even 3 cycles, and let's talk about how these are going to be playing out, what the market structure looks like, and what the big picture is telling me specifically. So first things first, let's talk about Solana. This was one of the very best performing altcoins of the last cycle. And if we come over here, what Solana looks like to me, it literally looks exactly the same as what Ethereum did in our last cycle. I actually remember watching Ethereum decline, and when it peaked at its bear market low at about 80 bucks, I remember thinking, oh man, I'm never touching ETH. That thing's a scam. It's dead, over, done for. And that was the exact bottom. And I remember watching that happen, and I remember telling myself, man, if I ever see this same setup play out again, I am going to buy. Well, everyone, we have an exact same setup in Solana. And Solana really is kind of the big Ethereum competitor. There really isn't another sidechain out there that's quite as big to a competitor as Solana is to ETH. And so what we're looking at is literally the exact same cycle, right? This consolidation here was the same as this. It led to our blow off top here, right there. We get the same lower high formation all the way through. And not only that, but Ethereum lasted almost exactly 1 year from the top to the bottom. And if we look over here at what Solana's done over the last, while, we're once again looking at pretty close to the same thing, around a year exactly worth of the top to the bottom of our bear market. And so even though Solana could go sideways for quite a while, we could do something like this. The big thing to remember here, guys, is many of these cryptos repeat the same cycles, not because there's anything new inside of the market, but just because it's the same emotional people that are trading them. Emotions are what drive the crypto markets. It's emotions that cause these freaking things to just skyrocket 100, 200, even 1,000x in value. So with that being said, what we can look at is how cycles have played out in years past, how they've continued to follow the same kind of rule of thumb. And if that's going to continue to play out, why wouldn't we bet on that form of analysis? In my opinion, I strongly believe in the long-term prospect of crypto. I shared with you guys why I believe we could be in for a major cycle top for the dollar. And if that's actually the case, guys, we are truly going to see another massive crypto bull run. And so the cryptos that perform the best, that look exactly like some of the other best performing cryptos like ETH, these are the ones that we want to be accumulating in this time. Because if we look at this, from where we're at today as far as Solana goes, if we come all the way back up here to the cycle top, we're looking at a 16x return from where we're at today. 16x just to the all-time high. Keep in mind that even if we don't make a massive new all-time high like, some of the other cryptos we've seen do, and we only make a small one, kind of like what ETH did in our last cycle, ETH made a massive move off the lows, and I actually made close to 50x on some of those buys that I had. And so if that's the case, and we're looking at 16x for Solana to the top, I believe that this is even more undervalued than ETH was at its peak bear market bottom. Now another example, let's look at Phantom. This was one of the greatest performing altcoins of that last cycle. I made a bunch of money off of this one. It was one of my better performing altcoins that I traded. Now what we see here in my opinion, looks almost identical to the Wall Street cheat sheet at the end of the day. Come back over here and draw our Wall Street cheat sheet. I hope that you guys are going to be able to understand it. Keep in mind, guys, that when we're looking at this chart, crypto will be more volatile because there's just simply less money into it than the stock market, and it's a 24/7 market on a global scale. There's way more volatility in crypto. But nonetheless, we follow pretty much the same rule of thumb. The big thing I want you guys to pay attention for is how the bottom of the cycle looks. Inside of the Wall Street cheat sheet, we go through the same rule of thumb. Capitulation, anger, depression. It's kind of like three lower lows, right? And this is what builds our base before we make our first higher high, disbelief phase, and then we once again start the new cycle back up, right? And so that's the way that these cycles have worked in years past. And if we come over here and look at what Phantom looks like today, it really looks no different than any of the other cycles I've seen play out as I've been in crypto for 6 years. Capitulation, anger, depression. Capitulation, anger, depression, right? It's the same stuff that plays out over and over and over again. And now that we've pretty much bottomed here, I wouldn't be surprised if we rally back up, make a big move upwards of, $1, maybe come back down like this. But that's literally where we're going to be setting the next stage for our bull market. And so 2023 might literally just be us making our first breakout into the new bull trend. We'll probably have a deep correction that follows after that. And so we will probably have good opportunities to get back into the market, even if you're not somebody that's willing to buy right here. But the big thing I want you guys to remember, if you're not willing to buy at the bottom, why are you even here at all? Seriously, because if you're not willing to buy at the bottom, that pretty much just confirms that you're the person that's buying in the top, right? And so you got to have the conviction to buy these things while we're at the peak low of the bear market. It's the people that are investing right now that are truly going to make a monumental amount of life-changing wealth, not only for you, but your family, your friends, and just people that are acquaintances of you. This is a wealth cycle that trickles down to everybody that participates. And what we're seeing here is pretty much the same rule of thumb that I've seen play out every cycle. Phantom's a 13x to the all-time highs. That's a pretty solid return. Now, how about we go and look at a crypto that's been around for a little while, and that's Cardano. Now, one of the cool things I like about sharing with you guys these other cycles is some of the cycles, have only ever completed their first cycles, whereas some of them are in their, going into their third cycle, right? Keep in mind that Cardano, it got listed in 2017. We made this big pump. The bear market came, but in the entire time throughout our bear market, we never technically made a lower low below the very beginning. And so this entire thing is an Elliott wave impulse. And so what we're seeing with our second cycle, we made a new all-time high, and generally the way that we would look at this based off Elliott wave theory was this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. But what we didn't do was hold support above wave 1, and so this can't be a wave 3. What we're looking at is stacking one waves. This is wave 1, right? And we're still working on wave 3. This entire last cycle is only wave 1 of 3, right? And so we're going to get wave 3 of 3, then we're going to get wave 5 of 3. And that's why I believe that this next cycle is going to be much bigger than people are anticipating, simply because of the fact what the early cycles are telling us is that this is stacking one waves. This entire move can't be wave 3 because we didn't even hold support above wave 1. The fact that we're correcting so deep back within this previous impulse tells me that either this is just going to be a massive pump and dump like some altcoins do. And I'll share with you guys, Vertcoin is a prime example of this because this is one of the older cryptos that we have inside of our market. But this pretty much explains what cryptos are either going to do that don't find adoption, or the ones that do find adoption will create a different pattern. But what we see here inside of Vertcoin, this was our first cycle. This was our second cycle. This was our third cycle, right? And so who knows? Maybe we make another big pump. We make something like this and make a new all-time high. I don't know. But this is one of the examples of cryptos that actually just makes big pump and dumps, right? We pump, fully retrace, we pump, fully retrace, we pump, fully retrace, right? It just pretty much follows the Bitcoin cycles, and it acts more as a pump and dump. And so we could see the same thing happen with some of these cryptos. I'm not saying ADA is part of that by any means. But if this doesn't turn into a big picture wave 3 and wave 5, then this is just going to follow the same form of cycle that many of the old cryptos that are what we would view as dead now will do, where they make these big pumps and stuff, and even though it made a new all-time high, a lot of these will fully retrace and then they'll just kind of pump back up again and kind of do the same thing. That is something I have seen cryptos that fail to get new adoption. That's kind of the way that these play out. And so when I look at this, let's actually pull up an example of Elliott wave theory so I can kind of map it out in an easier to understand way, because all of these cryptos are on a different cycle. Some of them are getting ready for a big picture wave 3. Some of them are getting ready for a big picture wave 5. Some of them are just still inside of a wave 1 and haven't even finished that. And so it's important to understand this so that we get a big picture of what could potentially play out for us from here. So here's ADA. And I have to pull it on TradingView to even share with you guys what I'm talking about. But when we look at the big picture of Cardano, this is what I want you guys to pay attention for. It's understanding the way that Elliott waves work. And so yes, we could just make a big pump and dump and it could be a dead coin that never gets new adoption. I don't necessarily believe that though. I think that we will probably most likely go in for a new cycle and we will follow basic Elliott wave theory rules. We're just so early in the grand scheme of crypto that it looks kind of like a big pump and dump, at least in my opinion. Now guys, every single Elliott wave cycle has 3 impulse waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by an ABC correction or a variance of a correction. ABC back down. Wave 3 is the biggest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC. Wave 5 and wave 1 are generally around the same size. And if we look over here, we can see that this was wave 5, this was wave 3, and this was our wave 1. So this is the way a lot of these cycles will work. Now keep in mind guys that if we're analyzing this, where is our wave 1? Where is our entire wave 1? Well, like I was stating, it has to be our first cycle over here. 1, 2, right? And so when we're looking at this, I think it's super important that that we understand the fact that we couldn't be inside of this wave 3 because the wave 3 inside of our wave 4 correction, it can't cross below our previous wave 1, right? Notice how we hold support way above our wave 1. We don't cross all the way back out, all the way down into here. Notice how this last impulse crosses all the way back down inside of our previous wave 1 market structure. Do you know what that means? It means that this is where Cardano is at today. Even though, this impulse technically just went straight back to the previous all-time highs, I believe that this is the exact same thing. We're just inside of this move. And what we're waiting on is, like I drew, wave 1, wave 3, and then wave 5. I don't know how long it's going to take to do all of that. We might only finish wave 3 inside of our next cycle. We might only finish here. I don't know, and I'm not going to try and predict that. What I'm trying to share with you guys is how much more bullish the market structure actually looks. Assuming we get adoption, assuming crypto's not just a big scheme for pump and dumping, assuming Cardano actually gets adoption, we would expect that it's going to follow Elliott waves. And I can share with you guys a number of examples of these. Specifically, let's go over here and look at Polygon, because all of these are inside of different cycles. Inside of Polygon, we have a wave 1, we have a ABC correction back down, and then we have a wave 3, a wave 4, and we haven't finished our wave 5 yet. And so as Cardano is still pretty much down in here, Cardano would technically be here based off of Elliott wave theory rules. Some of these other cryptos are still waiting for a big picture wave 5. And so all of these are going to be slightly different. They're not always going to be following the exact same rule of thumb. And that's why I say it's really important that we understand this stuff, because that gives us an idea of where things are headed, how much more upside they potentially have, or how much downside they could potentially have after our bull cycle. These ones that are stitching in a big picture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 impulse, those are most likely going to have a bigger bear market on the way back down than the ones that, are maybe only finishing the top of their wave 3 working on a wave 4. Because notice here how Polygon held support so well, and off of the lows we bounced up super high compared to the rest of the market. It shows because inside of a wave 4 correction, generally these are going to be the shortest corrections. There's still so much buy support that when we come over here and we look at our Elliott wave cycle, notice how it did this. This is wave 1, and then wave 3 gets this big impulse, and then wave 4 barely even corrects, right? That's pretty much the exact same thing that we're seeing here inside of Polygon, right? We didn't correct all the way back down in here and invalidate the count. We corrected inside of a wave 4 and it held such better support because that's the way Elliott wave theory works. We're still working on a wave 5. So with us being inside of a wave 5, this is what we would call a true cycle top, right? So if this is our wave 5, then this is going to be pretty much just pure euphoria as far as our big picture cycle goes. And so it would make sense that it holds support a little bit better because there's still so much FOMO that's actually supporting the market back up. Now, another example of a crypto that's a little bit older, that's been around for a lot longer than some of the others, is Litecoin. Now, what I like about Litecoin is the fact that we just have stacking one waves in the same way that we had it with Cardano. Oops, right here. So notice how this chart right here, this is wave 1, and then we get wave 1 again, and that's what's taking us into wave 3. That's what we saw with Cardano. This was wave 1, this was wave 1 of 3, right? And so if we're looking at the same kind of thing today inside of Litecoin, we only have 2 examples of impulses, right? This one couldn't be because we made a lower low below our support, so this would have to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC, that's our wave 1. And then our last cycle was another stacking one wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice here how Litecoin actually follows Elliott wave theory rules a little bit better. Notice how our one wave went to the wave 5 and then corrected back down. And that's what led us into this wave 3. It's pretty much the same thing that Litecoin did. Litecoin inside of our wave 1 went back up to the previous all-time highs of our last cycle, and then we corrected back down. And so this entire thing right here is a wave 1 of 3. We're working on wave 3 of 3, and then we'll get a wave 5 of 3, and that will complete wave 3. I don't know how high it's going to go. I'm not trying to predict price. I don't care about any of that. What I'm sharing with you guys is how early we still are inside of the big picture cycles. If Litecoin is doing stacking one waves, and it's one of the oldest cryptos that's ever been around, there's no reason to doubt the potential of a massive bull run, because based off of Elliott wave theory rules, this is what we want. This is where we want to buy, because the next move that comes is going to be the biggest of the cycle. It's the most impulsive, the most money's made, the most volume comes into it, and it would make sense. We now have institutions that have been buying since 2018. They've been accumulating a lot of these cryptos. Grayscale's been accumulating a lot of these cryptos. All of that stuff is reason why institutions always get in right before the major cycle top. And so if we come over here, let's go look here at the... Let's go look at the market cycle graph, because this is the one that I wanted to share with you guys. This is why I'm sharing with you guys these charts, is because I think they're very, 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 very important to understand. And if we understand them, it gives us a great idea of what is going to be taking place. Notice here, guys, that if we're looking at the true picture of a bubble, let me just cover the chart here of ADA so that we can kind of see a little bit better. If we're looking at a big picture cycle right here, notice here, the stealth phase, smart money. This is all of the early investors talking, pre-2015 Bitcoin probably. And then we have the awareness phase. This is where institutional investors get in. I would say that was pretty much 2016 until now, basically. We've been seeing a lot of institutions starting to accumulate since 2018. That was when we first got futures trading that got added, and that was really where we started to see the very beginning stages of institutional accumulation. And we saw a lot of that inside of our last cycle as well. Grayscale added a new Bitcoin trust. We saw other countries kind of do the same thing. There was an ETF in Canada. So we started to see a lot more adoption based off of institutional involvement, right? And so if we're looking at this, institutional investors get in here at the first sell-off, right? So what that would mean to me is our entire last cycle that we just went through for Bitcoin, if we come over here and take a look at it, if we come over here and take a look at Bitcoin, I honestly believe that our entire last cycle could be an example of the first sell-off, right? If we come over here and look at the big picture, I believe that this bear market is an example of that first sell-off right here. It's the bear trap. And this is why I'm saying that institutions don't come in and buy the cycle top. They come in here, they might buy the short-term cycle top, they might buy the cycle top of the first sell-off, right? But they're not coming in here and buying the new paradigm, at least not the smart ones, right? There's going to be people that buy the top. Institutions are going to go broke in the same way that happened in 2008 financial crisis. But when we're looking at this chart, the institutions get in and they create the big foundation leading up to where they start to talk with the mainstream media. They get them to pump all of their bags, retail, FOMO buys, and then they have all the exit liquidity in the world to take their profits. It works in the same way every time. It's the same cycles that repeat over and over because it's the same humans and emotions that dictate what happens. When we look at this, I truly believe that we are getting ready for this type of a cycle top. I'm not saying that it's going to happen inside of our next cycle. It could happen, in a couple more cycles from now. I don't know. But what I'm saying is we are getting ready for a huge adoption cycle that will rally and be much more similar to what we saw in the internet bubble back in the mid-2000s, right? I think that this is going to be bigger because this is so much bigger comparing it to the internet. This is the internet of money. money, money, money. We make money if all of our money is getting implemented into blockchain, and then we have all of this crazy wealth being thrown around, and then we also have retail that gets excited at the same time. I really do believe that we're going to see one of the biggest bull cycles, if not the biggest bull cycle of all time. Yes, Bitcoin's law of diminishing returns. I'm sure that the returns will continue to diminish, but we have a lot of altcoins that have only finished their first cycles that are truly going to blow up in a huge way. And so guys, this is the video I had for you. I simply just wanted to map things out in a way that I felt was easy to understand. But most importantly, what I wanted you guys to get out of this was just how early we still are. I've heard a lot of people saying that crypto's pretty much dead. Happens every bear market. But I hear a lot of people saying that the days of the massive bull runs are also behind us. And I can't help but disagree with that. When I look at the big picture of cycles, I personally see that these things are actually way more bullish than many people are leading to believe. And it doesn't surprise me considering we're at the peak low of the bear market. So, I mean, everybody's going to be bearish anyways. That's just the way the markets work. So anyways, if you found value in this, leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you guys are holding any of these cryptos, let me hear your thoughts inside of the comments. If you guys want to join the Discord server, download my free ebook, or sign up for my video course in Signals, follow the trades that I take, NFT picks, and all that stuff. Links are in the description for that. I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support. It really, truly means a lot. I can't wait to see you guys make a ton of money inside of this next bull run, because I really do believe that you will. If you're positioned, if you're smart, and we take profits. That's the big things. I'm here to help you guys as much as I can. Obviously, this isn't financial advice, but what I can do inside of the markets is definitely help you guys see the big picture at least, understand where we're at in the cycles, and then at least from that point, you guys will have a good decision or can at least make a strong, educated guess on what to do inside of your portfolio. So I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for the support, and with that being said, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.